3, 2, 1.
Welcome everyone to this March 17th, 2025 council meeting, regular council meeting on St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. And we welcome all those members of the public that are joining us this evening, either from home or are here in attendance in the gallery. Welcome all members of council who are in attendance and our staff who provide us information and facts to help us make the best decisions on behalf of the municipality. There is an amendment to budget number 10.4.1, a staff report. And we'll move on to the call to order, and we'll ask everyone to rise for roll call if they can, please. Please be seated. Again, welcome everyone that's attending in either virtually or in person this evening. We'll begin our meeting with the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we are reminded that the municipality of South Huron is situated on Treaty 29 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. As a community, we have a responsibility to honor and respect this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon it, and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. In the spirit of reconciliation and truth, we acknowledge the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples on whose traditional territories we are meeting. And thank you for that. And I'll ask everyone to make sure that your cell phones are turned off or on mute. And we'll move on to item number 3. Ms. Masu Carlson, who's acting as, of course, our CEO and acting as the clerk also. So be patient because she's got lots to do tonight.
That South Huron Council approves the agenda as presented.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? It carries a 7. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof by members of council. Are there any disclosures at this time? And not seeing any, we move on to our presentation. We introduce David Wagner. Welcome, David. I think everyone's kind of met David already informally, but just ask you to talk a bit about yourself, if you could, please.
Hello, everybody again. My name is David Wagner. I have taken on the role of Community Emergency Management Coordinator for the county and subsequently South Huron as well. I started my career as a paramedic in 1997 in Wingham and went full-time in 2001 when we were downloaded to the county. 2019, I became the superintendent, and now I've taken on the role as CEMC effective January 31st. I'm hoping I never have to fulfill that role. And I'm sure Jeremy agrees. And as a side note, I was also a firefighter for North Huron for 10 years, so I can understand that side as well.
Thank you for your service as the firefighter and the paramedic system too. Are there any questions for Mr. Wagner? Just want to welcome you very much. You've got a good crew down here. We're there to support you and work with you to make sure everyone here in South Huron is safe and our partners regionally. So if there's anything we need to do or can do for you, our staff are here to work with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. Right. No delegations, no public meeting. We go on to our minutes. Ms. Masu Carlson, please.
That South Huron Council adopts the minutes of the special meeting of February 24th, 2025, and the regular council meeting of March 3rd, 2025, as printed and circulated.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Oak, second by Counselor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Counselor Board and Committee reports under 9, please.
That the draft minutes of the following committees and/or boards be received as presented to council. Dashwood Community Advisory Committee, draft minutes of February 25th, 2025.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Vaughn, seconded by Counselor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
That South Huron Council receives the Dashwood Community Development Fund draft minutes of March 11th, 2025, and that South Huron Council approves the recommendation that an upset of $15,000 from the Dashwood Community Development Fund Reserve be allocated for the purchase of new Christmas lights for Dashwood.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Neeb, second by Counselor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 10, please.
10.1.1, that South Huron Council receives staff report BPS 05-2025, the 2024 annual financial report for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Counselor Oak. Any discussion? Counselor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, I just had one question of Mike, which is basically what would happen in a scenario where a complete building was never completed, like the application didn't get fulfilled?
Mr. Rolfe, go ahead, please.
Through you, the mayor. Just to clarify, you said the application didn't get fulfilled, so you're thinking permit's been issued, and it just hasn't gone to completion?
I'm thinking because of the way I think it was described in the report, that let's say that there's a complete build that never actually gets to a complete build.
Okay.
Okay, so what would happen in that scenario?
Yeah, it's an excellent question and one that we put a lot of thought into too. So we've issued the building permit. We have monies that are in a deferred account, and through the report, and as you noticed, there's certain milestones where we get to collect that revenue, or it's classified as a revenue anyways. If it comes to a point where a building permit or a building itself is not getting to that completion stage, we do have multiple tools through the Building Code Act. So we can issue an order to have this person complete the project or complete whatever needs to be done to final off the permit or get us to that milestone where we can recognize the revenues. Or we could revoke the permit. So if construction is suspended for a year, the chief building official has the authority to revoke the permit. And at that point, there's refunds through a building bylaw that we would be able to refund back. It's a percentage based on where the construction is at. And then we would recognize the remainder of that revenue.
Follow up, Counselor Vaughn?
Yes, thank you. So is that a normal practice today that we actually refund if something doesn't go to completion?
Through the mayor, we do have refunds within our building bylaws. So if somebody's applied for a permit and we get to a certain review point and it's not issued, there's a percentage of their application that they would get refunded, application fee. Or even if we've issued the building permit and they wish to withdraw, or like I said, we revoke, it's based on how many inspections we've completed. So I have it right in front of me. So if permit's been issued, they receive 35% of their fee, and then less 5% of that with every inspection completed. So that's how the refund is based.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Counselor Oak, go ahead, please.
And thank you, Mayor. Mike, in the past, in my other role that I have, sometimes we see outstanding permits that are from years and years ago. Now, I assume the new technology nowadays that catches that kind of thing? Because I know that there's a number that every once in a while where we went to put a mortgage on a property or whatever, there'd be an outstanding building permit from 35 years ago or something, not necessarily just in South Huron, in various areas sort of thing. So what's the process now? Is it, like you said, after a certain period of time, it expires, or how does it?
Mr. Wolf, whenever you're ready.
Through the mayor, the current process for current building permits that we are still working with the owner on, if it gets to a stage where, okay, a cloud permit notifies us that the permit's about to expire, and it also notifies the applicant, we can reach out to them and say, hey, where is XYZ, right? And work with them on closing that permit off for the most part.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you very much, Michael. Well done. There's no further questions. We have a mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries a 7. 10.2, 1, please.
That South Huron Council received staff report CSD 02-2025, assembly and occupancy update for information, and that staff proceed to complete a structural review, structural analysis, and the requirements for assembly and occupancy work at both the Stephen Arena and the South Huron Recreation Centre in the amount of $37,000, excluding HST.
And a mover, please. Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, okay. Mike, in the actual report, there's a paragraph, but the third paragraph down that talks about the Stephen Arena and the South Huron Rec Center Arena. They include other sport-related activities that do not exceed the capacity of the space. So it infers that as long as we don't exceed the capacity of the space, we can go ahead with a sporting event. And what I would like to know is what are the various capacities in both Stephen and in South Huron Rec Center?
I believe Amanda may have that answer. Is that correct?
Oh.
Thanks.
Sorry,
No problem. I just advised by
sorry, Amanda.
CEO. Yeah.
That's okay. So through the mayor, so hopefully I can answer. It's a bit of a multi-part answer. So as you indicated, the arena floor was designed for sport-related activities. So with the capacity, that's determined by the requirements of each permitted event. So for example, when we have little kids playing hockey, we may have upwards up to 80 people. For public skating, we may have upwards up to 100 people. This is kind of also the case of explaining how it fluctuates in the hall. So if I'm going to rent the hall and I'm only having a standing event, in the South Huron Hall, it's 895 people, but if I need tables, chairs, and a space for dancing, it's going to be less. And if I only require tables and chairs, it's going to be about 700 people that can be in there. So that's what the hall was designed to hold. The bleachers at South Huron Recreation Center were designed for people to sit in, and that capacity is about 800 people, including a little over 100 at that standing room on top. At Stephen Arena, those seats were designed for 375 people to sit in. In regards to the lobby, so there is a capacity for lobbies, but that's not in addition to the overall occupant load. It's kind of the lobby acts as I think the correct way is a flow through for people inside the building. So we know that the lobby can hold approximately 400 people, but it's not to say it's 800 and then 400. That 400 is combined with how many people are in the entire building, if that makes sense.
Follow up, Councillor Vaughn.
Yes, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around how these capacity figures relate to sprinkler systems and fire requirements, because it seems that the whole genesis for wanting this report was all about could we use these spaces for more events and year-round events. And so if I could take just Stephen Arena as an example, in the summertime when the ice is out, we have a cement base. And so as an example, a sporting event might be, or sporting events might be roller skating. So for that floor space, I'm trying to understand how many people we would actually allow on that, because that's potentially different than what you would have for like a hockey team.
So through the mayor, so for an event like that, we would liken it to public skating where we wouldn't allow more than 100 people on the surface at a time, given the event that's happening there.
Okay, and for in the bleachers at Stephen Arena, 800, or was
No,
that just
sorry.
for South Huron?
That was through the mayor. That was just for South Huron. Stephen Arena, the amount of seating in there is 375.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Any other questions at this time? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, 10.2.2.
That South Huron Council receives staff report CSD 03-2025, Exeter Dog Park for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Councillor Neeb, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Finch, and thank you, Amanda, for the extremely detailed report outlining a number of potential locations for a dog park in Exeter. The issue of a lack of an area for dogs to run in one of our primary settlement areas has been ongoing since I've been on council. I have received calls from residents impacted on both sides, both with the lack of a designated area for dogs to run, as well as complaints from facility users, including those who utilize our soccer fields, baseball fields, and the McNaughton Trail system. In all these cases, we have a bylaw that states that all dogs should be on a leash. I think this is a fair and responsible bylaw that the municipality has in place. We still have some residents and their dogs that are utilizing the soccer fields, the trail, and the baseball fields to allow their dogs to run off leash. This is due to a lack of an accessible area for dog owners to allow their dogs to run in Exeter. This is having an impact on the users of our sports field, including South Huron Soccer, and council will note at our previous meeting we received correspondence from them, but also our residents at large, and creates an enforcement issue that is yet to be solved by council. While there are dog parks in other areas of the municipality, these may not be accessible to those unable to drive or those without a vehicle. In the report, a number of potential municipally owned locations were suggested, along with the cost to set up a fence, benches, water and waste stations, with costs ranging but up to $28,000. I don't look at this as a cost, but an investment into a cost-effective solution that can help mitigate the issues of dog owners in Exeter and the South Huron Soccer Club. It should be noted that both of these organizations pay either user fees or, in the case of dog owners, licensing fees to the municipality of South Huron. I believe that placing a dog park, or at least putting up a fenced area, is a proactive solution to a long-standing issue in Exeter. And I look to council for support, or if not support, a solution to this issue other than a no decision.
Thank you. Councillor McLeod Haggett, go please.
Again, thank you, Amanda, for your report. It was very detailed. Just want to state, like we all know, there are 2 dog parks already that are accessible to all residents in South Huron. Before we undertake to do a third dog park, I feel like we need to look at the current parks that we have to see what we can do to make those enhanced before we spend another $40,000 of taxpayers' money to add a third dog park. For example, I went out to the Crediton Dog Park this afternoon, and it is in a bit of a state of disrepair and could use some upgrades, as it does not appear as though there's been any work done there at that location in quite some time. The poop bags are located in the back end of the outside of the dog park and are not accessible unless you leave the fenced area and walk to the back. There are many sections of grass area that have been dug up within the fenced area. The cement slab is broken and sections are a tripping hazard where the picnic tables are sitting. There is 0 shade for anyone sitting and enjoying the dog park. It is not accessible given the grass area that has been there. There is no running water, and there is, again, no division for large dogs and small dogs. The Centralia Dog Park, yes, it was transferred from the Ball Diamond into a dog park. And those funds were taken from the $50,000 that was allocated for transforming their area when they lost the community center there. And again, there's no shade within the fenced area. It is not accessible given the grass from the parking lot to the fenced area. There's no division for large and small dogs, and there is no running water there either. I have been contacted by individuals in Ward 1. I know that I represent Ward 2, but I look at it as I represent all of South Huron. So we have to look out what is best for South Huron and the monies that we're paying from the taxpayers. What I've gotten is there are 2 dog parks. People can drive and use it. Other ones in other areas have to drive into Exeter to access any of the amenities here.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'd like to speak to this. Deputy, you could take the chair, please. I'd like to commend Abby Hanna for coming forward to pursue a permanent, safe, and dedicated dog park location for a proper dog park in the community of Exeter. I'd also like to thank those that signed the petition supporting and championing this cause, as I support them 100%. Her previous petition is very compelling, and there are some here tonight looking to us as leaders to solve the conflicts that arise simply because we do not have a designated dog park, as our open spaces are being used as off-leash dog parks, making it nearly impossible to police and causing us reputational damage to soccer and baseball users. I've had more than one complaint from our soccer users alone about players slipping in dog feces over the years. We have the ability to rectify this problem. One of Abby's comments that resonated with me is that not everyone drives. I'll say that again, not everyone drives. Although we have 2 established dog parks, Centralia's was a transformation of space that was an unused ball diamond. It was out of convenience to make better use of that space, and it's shown that it is now being well used. Nowhere in any of our bylaws does it state that we can only have 2 dog parks. Nor is there anything saying how many ball diamonds, pools, splash pads, trails, parks, arenas, tennis courts, soccer fields, etc. we can have. What Abby was able to establish beyond any doubt is that there is a definite need for a dog park in Exeter. A dog is a valued member of the family. 30 years ago, dogs were not given the same respect in society as they are now. At one point, you could not take a dog into a store and would actually be escorted out if you did. Fast forward to today, and all stores accept service animals, and many accept well-behaved dogs because times have changed and people have changed. And as times change, we as a council must change with them. My research finds that there are 7.9 million dogs in Canada with a human population of nearly 41 million. That's a 1-to-5 ratio. And some of the key words Abby spoke about that trigger a very serious look at her request was the word accessibility and comments related to a person's mental health. Overall, it is about being inclusive. The medical community has recognized that pets provide a great deal of emotional comfort for those that are experiencing mental anguish or trauma. The #1 priority area for action identified in the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan is mental health and addictions. There are those who choose to live in Exeter because they need to be close to healthcare, pharmacies, library, groceries, and the other conveniences that are offered simply because they do not drive or they drive and live with anxiety. With a population of 5,000 people living within a mile of the rec center and McNaughton Park, many can walk to a dog park if located there. Intensification and the fact that over 300 new homes are predicted in Windermere and Buckingham Estates alone will generate a lot of use, not to mention the current homes across Exeter. Council has forever subsidized baseball, hockey, pickleball, tennis, and swimming, which is excellent that we do, but it comes at a price of hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year. And those are tax dollars. And the reason we do that is because we've always done it this way. And there is no end in sight in subsidizing these. This is where the dilemma is created, which is why a dedicated space is needed and justified. I continually see people running their dog off leash at the Alvin Willard Field and the other ball diamonds. Do we want our bylaw officers to attend each time? Just how realistic is that anyways? I'd like to point out that on November 18th, 2024, South Huron was recognized by the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee for excellence in accessibility in the public sector. And that was for our renovations to the South Huron Rec Center. This is the first time we've ever received any award like that. In conversation with Julie Sawchuk, she advised me that she has been speaking to other municipalities across Ontario and is directing them to South Huron to learn how they too can be more inclusive. I would suggest that we take this opportunity and show leadership on this front of accessibility and our continued commitment to be inclusive to all residents. We have a conflict in uses and need to remedy this because that is warranted for us to do so. A permanent dog park is a one and done investment. No ice or outdoor nets to maintain, no ball diamonds to maintain daily. What it does is offer a year-round facility that will benefit today's population and future generations. I've spoken to dozens of people about their interest in a dog park, and all are in favor of one, especially one that is split to allow smaller dogs to be separate from the larger ones. Advertising boards along the fence would generate income to make it sustainable for decades. A study I found in the states that off-leash parks help dogs to socialize and become better behaved, thereby preventing conflicts in the overall community. By showing a united partnership with Abby on this initiative, we will be solving a problem where dogs now run free. Yes, we know there's a bylaw that prohibits off-leash dogs, but surely we cannot be naive to think that the problem is going to go away simply by saying, well, there's a bylaw. We have to be smart enough to know that conflicts will continue unless we show leadership. Turning a blind eye to it will not solve the problem, nor will kicking it down the road so the next council can decide. There's also economic benefit that Abby mentioned, whereby it brings people in town for those that choose to drive, and they will shop in town and shop local. No different than having the excellent sports fields that bring people in from across the region. We have to be smart enough to realize that the Centennial Field and our ball diamonds are being used as dog parks, whether you lock them out or not. Providing a space for our dog owners will allow the public to direct people to the dog park and thereby be self-policed. I would suggest that the McNaughton Park space location west of the pavilion in McNaughton Park, which is 13 meters by 77 meters, be the preferred site. This is an area that would not conflict with any other users, and it's easily accessible because of 2 parking areas. One of the biggest complaints of the South Huron Trail is dogs off leash. Having the dog park at McNaughton Park right there at the entrance will benefit all users. Folks, this is just a common sense decision that matters to people. And thanks to Abby again and the team who have rallied behind her on this, because it's a very important topic, and I'm behind her 100%, and I endorse Councillor Neeb's comments also. Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Cloudhegg, please.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to go back. So you're saying leadership, one and done. A dog park is not something that is one and done. There is continual maintenance that needs to be done on that. And what are we going to do then when Dashwood, Kirkton, Shipka, and all of the other towns in South Huron come forward and say, we need a dog park? We don't have the funds to put $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 out to each town to give them a dog park. Every town we have in our municipality have individuals that have dogs who do not have access to transportation. So we also have to look at that of, we can't say Exeter should get it because we have people here that do not have means to transportation. Everybody has to drive everywhere for amenities. I'm a huge dog lover. I would put a dog park in every town if we could. It's just not financially feasible, given the ongoing maintenance that is also incurred with that. We've seen in the other dog parks, they get to a point and then they start to trickle off and they're not maintained properly. So they're not safe for the kids to run around, the dogs to run around. Where are the dollars going to come from to fix all of those? Or do we just forget about those and then eventually shut them down because Exeter has a Taj Mahal dog park? We have to look at a municipality as a whole and where the finances and the dollars can be allotted to make sure we're covering all of our constituents, not just a group.
And to your point, there's 5,000 people within a mile of McNaughton Park. And as I mentioned in my presentation, you'd basically have sponsor boards that can be sold to local businesses. I'm sure there's business in person here right now in the audience that would maybe interested in putting their placard on that. Pay a certain fee. It's advertising boards. That would generate revenue year over year over year. You could probably put 20 boards around that fence. I guess that's where I'm coming from. That would make it more self-sustainable. And we've had no requests from anyone else, any other community for a dog park. Shipka, Kirkton, Grand Bend, no one else has asked. Are you aware? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I guess the motion that's on the table right now is just receiving this report for information. That's, so that's what we're discussing right at the moment. For information purposes, next steps would have to be something else. And at this point in time, we do not have this in the budget for this year, either for capital or operating. Just want to bring it back to what the motion on the table is. We're sort of going away from what the motion that's in front of us.
Thank you, Mayor Finch. I think I would like to have the motion amended if possible to receive the report, but that we also proceed with the dog park west of the pavilion and east of the pool in McNaughton Park. And again, I think we need to figure out whether it's incorporated in a budget amendment or whether it's incorporated in next year's budget. I think for me, in terms of this issue, is I have received calls about dogs running off leash. We have received a petition. We've also received complaints. And so again, the suggestion of asking people to drive outside of town, I don't know if that's going to actually solve the issue. And I'm just looking to council, if we're not willing to put in an area that's fenced in, what is the solution? Because we're either paying more in bylaw enforcement, we're losing people to the soccer fields because they're paying user fees, or we're telling people to leave town. So I don't really know of what way we could mitigate this issue other than by having an area, right? And I think the reason why this came up is not because Exeter wants a Taj Mahal dog park. There's an issue. It is on the books. We have received complaints. And so I'm just looking to council to find out what is the solution here.
Any other comments? Deputy.
Thank you. I guess my question would be to staff. We have a dog license fee. Where does that go? What happens to that dog license fee? Like maybe that's something we look at. If we want to put a dog park in, then maybe we look at upping the dog license fee to cover that cost of that dog park, because like our council member said, there is going to be a maintenance cost along the way, whether it be repair fences or whatever, and we're still going to have dogs off leash. So I think it's something that I would like staff to look at is the dog fee. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Masula Carlson.
Through the mayor, I can say that the fees currently go towards bylaw enforcement, animal control. Yeah.
Councilor McLeod-Haggard, you got something?
Oh, I was just going to comment off of Councillor or Deputy Mayor Dietrich. If we were to try to reallocate those funds to see where we could, then I'm assuming that whatever funds come in from each ward, that would go towards a dog park in that area. I don't think that others that are in other municipalities or other wards that have a dog park should be contributing towards a dog park in Exeter when the amenities in their dog parks are lacking. And there's work that needs to be done to make them more amenable.
Councilor Neeb, did you have something?
No, but I do agree with the deputy mayor. Maybe the user fee needs to be looked at, because currently the taxpayers are paying for two dog parks. I do think it would be worthwhile, especially if bylaw is not able to cover off this issue, then maybe it needs to be reevaluated. And I don't know what a realistic fee would be. But again, something has to be done, because this has come up over at least this term of council, if not just before.
And Ms. Masula Carlson, would you know what the costs are for a dog license by chance or not?
Through the chair, for some reason, I think it's around $30 a year. But is it less? So 20 if the dog is spayed and neutered, and 30 if it's not.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to make that amendment then, Counselor Neeb? Oh, Counselor Dietrich, you had a comment. Go ahead, sir.
Well, when you're talking about fees here, I've heard, oh, thank you, Mayor. I've heard my daughter say she gave $200 or $300 to get 2 or 3 shots for her dog, and different ones is 600 and something for taking them to the vet. So are they able to come up with that kind of money for the park too, or how's this going to work?
Deputy, do you want to respond to that? You look like you do.
I just think that I would like to see something come back to help us. We need to look at the fees, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If we're going to put these parks in, then it should be some kind, I'm not saying completely, but it should be some kind of a user fee pay to move the park. So I would like to move this motion that's already on here and have staff bring back some kind of report on the user fee.
Okay, so you're asking for an amendment then, or different motion?
Different motion.
Okay, so right now the motion is to receive the report. And then you're asking to do another motion in regards to user fee to support a dog park. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Neeb, you got anything? And Counselor Oak, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering if we were to do that, whether that then comes as a report to 2026 budget where it should be discussed. An item this large to put into mid-year when we're only a few months now away from the 2026 budget discussions.
Okay. Any other comments at this time? Counselor Neeb, question?
Just for clarity, can we have this motion that's on the table amended to include looking at the location in McNaughton Park to be included in the 2026 budget?
Okay, so you want that to be amended to reflect that?
If possible, yes.
Okay, and Ms. Masula Carlson, could you read that? If you could, please. I know you're busy. Counselor Vaughn, you had something?
I did, and I know we're kind of making this motion a lot bigger than it started out to be today. So I'm thinking about McNaughton Park. All of a sudden we have a location on the table. Going through the report, I was looking at a couple of comments from the ABCA, and I think it applies no matter where you're thinking about a dog park. And that is, what does the public have to say about it? I know we've got some people who have signed a petition. We have some anecdotal information from people receiving complaints and whatnot. But I would suggest that no matter where you put this park or dog park, you're going to get complaints from the public because there's going to be little kids, or there's going to be seniors, or there's going to be something. Somebody's going to object to wherever you want to put this park. So if we're going to take a serious look at this, I think we need to have some public input on a broader level, especially from the areas that are surrounded by populations or already existing parks or something to that effect. I don't think we should just pick a spot without any regard for what the public might have to say about it. The other thing that I'm going to say is that I think we're being a little bit optimistic in terms of hoping that by creating a dog park, we will not have a bylaw issue. We will not have dogs running at large and doing their business wherever they feel like it. That will continue. So I would prefer we really not think too much about this is going to be the be-all, end-all solution. It's only going to be that way if you're going to bring back the bylaw officer to actually police it. And so if you're prepared to do that, why aren't we prepared to do that without a dog park? So just my 2 cents worth.
Thank you. Councillor Neeb, go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't think we should be under any illusion that anything would be immediate in terms of completely solving the issue, but this is about, I think, mitigating the issue so that there is an accessible place. Because obviously what we have is not working. That's where I'm coming from. I don't think, one of the reasons too why I'd suggested that specific location is due to the reasons that were outlined in the report. There's access to parking, it's close to other amenities, it's fairly central, there's access to water. It's not going to impact any other user groups that we have in the municipality. So it seemed to me like that was the better of all of the options. And I think too, yes, we're probably not going to be able to please everybody, but at the same time, we're about trying to increase access, and 28,000 to increase access and to solve some of these issues for our users and people who own dogs within Exeter. I think that's reasonable. That's a reasonable amount of money, I think, to set up a fence. We're not buying extra land in order to facilitate this either. So.
Thank you. Miss Councillor McLeod-Hager, go ahead.
So I think we also have to look at, like, as mentioned with the McNaughton Park across the bridge, you have all of those residents that are on Riverside Drive where their backyards face, and I don't believe many, if any, are fenced, that their backyards are fenced in. So we also have to think about the dog parks there, the barking, the noise that could be intrusive to their space.
I think you might be thinking of a different one. The one that we're talking about is one west of the pavilion, not over the Centennial Bridge. So yeah, that was considered about the neighbors, of course, already. Ms. Masul-Colvin, do you have an amendment there?
Okay, so I'll start off with the resolution on the table. It's that South Huron Council received staff report CSD 03-2025 Exeter Dog Park for information. That was moved by Councillor Neeb and seconded by Councillor McLeod-Haggett. So that's on the table now. There was also this is a draft amendment to that resolution. That council include the establishing of a dog park at McNaughton Park area in the 2026 budget discussions, and that a report come back on user fees in regards to supporting a dog park in Exeter, and includes comments from the public and ABCA.
That's your amendment, Councillor Neeb, so moved?
Yep.
Is there a second to that amendment?
Through the mayor, this is just for the amendment at this point.
Okay. Is there a seconder for the amendment then? No seconder. Very well. Then we go back to the original motion then. If you could read that, please.
So the original motion is that South Huron Council receives staff report CSD 03-2025 Exeter Dog Park for information. It's already moved and seconded.
So with that moved to second, is there any further discussion on that? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. And then Deputy, did you have a motion you wanted to bring forward?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to see where we would be at to cover these costs through the licensing fee. I don't know what it would be, but I think that's something that I would like to see staff bring back.
Okay, and that would be a motion you're preparing there. I'll let Ms. Masul-Colvin prepare that.
That a report come back with on user fees to support a dog park in Exeter. Moved by Deputy.
And is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Oh, Councillor Oak.
Yeah, just wondering if we could add to bring back for the 2026 budget discussions.
Friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Neeb, friendly amendment is granted.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further discussion on that? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Okay, next item, please. 10.2.3, please.
That South Huron Council received staff report CSD 04-2025 Dashwood Community Center Playground RFP Award, and the South Huron Council awards the request for proposal received from Blue Imp Company to the upset limit of $79,999.99, excluding HST.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Neeb, seconded by Counselor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries of 7. Thank you. 10.2.4, please.
That South Huron Council receives staff report Fire 02-2025 for information, and that council approves the proposed amendments to the South Huron burn bylaw as outlined in this report, and that the bylaw be brought back for the required 3 readings.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Neeb, seconded by Counselor Oak. Any discussion? Counselor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to ask the fire chief. Every year around this time, when people start thinking about getting outside, I get a lot of questions about, can I have a personal fire pit in my backyard or on my deck or wherever they think it should be. We sell them at Canadian Tire, Home Hardware, Rona, all over the place. And so I don't think it's covered in our bylaw in terms of what we do or do not permit in that situation.
Chief Becker.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Finch. It is vague as far as the campfires. It does have some language to speak to it on distances from buildings and stuff like that. Nothing per se for a campfire specific though, but just open air burning. So in 3.3, it talks about fires with buildings and stuff like that. And then as well, 3.2 talks about small fires with cooking, but nothing, like you said, for a campfire itself.
Right. And I did notice, or I do think that I saw for the distance from the building, it was something like 33 feet. And lots of people don't have those things 33 feet from their particular home. So my question is, since we're amending this bylaw, did we give consideration to saying something about these specific fire pits and whether or not you needed a screen, like bubble on top of these things, or I'm just thinking if we're getting specific about fancy balloons in the air, which is only very specific to a once a year kind of event, why would we consider putting something in here for many households who buy these things?
Through you, Mayor Finch, the reason that this came back to the table was specifically for the lanterns. That was council's request, so that's what we looked at, and that was the direction that we followed. The flying lanterns, I wouldn't say it's for one event. These things fly all year round. These things are extremely dangerous, and it's just a matter of time until they either light a field or a building on fire. So capturing that as a whole, not just focusing on the one event, but I completely understand where you're coming from, and that's something that we can look at as well.
Thank you, Councillor Oak. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mayor. To the fire chief as well. I note we put in gas and propane barbecues on patios or designated that now. And I agree with that. Just wondered if there was any thought on charcoal barbecues, smokers, those kind of things as well. Just wondered, or electric, I think there was a comment about electric, and that's just wondered what's your thoughts?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Finch, the reason that the barbecues, balconies with gas powered, the balconies generally are propane. Are generally made of concrete. There will be some existing wood structures and stuff, but the event is, or the purpose behind that was for the explosion risk. If we get into naming every different kind of appliance, I don't know how long our bylaw would have to be. But definitely, the gas and propane were high risk, so that's why it was highlighted there.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Vaughn.
Thank you. Just to follow up. So since we don't have anything about fire pits here and we have this bylaw before us for tonight with the amendment, do we have a process for such inquiries, as I get from time to time, to send them into the municipality to get some guidance if they want guidance before they actually purchase one of these things? Do we have someplace they can go?
Chief?
Through you, Mayor Finch, like every other person that starts calling me at 7 a.m., pass out my number.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I don't doubt that with you, Mr. Becker. Any other, Councillor Dietrich?
Thank you to the mayor for Jeremy. How does this compare for other municipalities? This seems like quite a list you have here. Like are the other ones the same, pretty much similar?
Through you, Mayor Finch, Councillor Dietrich, yes, we did look at, excuse me, several municipalities around us, smaller, larger, same size, and very comparable to what we have here.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council received staff report ESD 06-2025, the 2024 annual report for the South Huron wastewater collection system and Exeter wastewater treatment facility for information.
Okay, and a mover, please, Councillor Oak, second by Councillor Neave, and we welcome Melissa Keller to come down and present for us tonight. Thank you very much for attending.
Thanks again. So I'm here for the annual wastewater report to council, the 2024. There's also a little slideshow to go with this once again. But while that loads, just want to thank everybody that makes this possible. That includes our frontline operators, our support staff, and council. Perfect. There we go. So just a brief overview of the South Huron wastewater collection and wastewater treatment facilities. The Exeter wastewater treatment facility and South Huron wastewater collection system provides service to approximately 5,000 residents in Crediton, Centralia, Huron Park, and Exeter. The Exeter wastewater treatment facility is a sewage lagoon with an aeration system and intermittent sand filters. Raw sewage is collected from the William Street Sewage Pumping Station, the Snyder Crescent Sewage Pumping Station, the Huron Park Sewage Pumping Station, and the Crediton Sewage Pumping Station, with a collection system consisting of approximately 67 kilometers of sewers and force mains. In the Grand Bend area, it's serviced by the Grand Bend Area Wastewater Treatment Facility, which is joint ownership with Lambton Shores. The Grand Bend Area Wastewater Treatment Facility is a mechanical treatment plant with raw sewage collected from Oakwood Sewage Pumping Station, POG Sewage Pumping, and POG Sewage Pumping Station. The Grand Bend Area Wastewater Treatment Facility also services 4 private sewage pumping stations. For 2024, there was no inspection by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. For the Exeter wastewater treatment facility, there was also no compliance issues, no effluent quality exceedances, and no ministry orders for the South Huron wastewater treatment facility or wastewater collection system in 2024. In 2024, the Exeter wastewater treatment facility saw a total of 1.29 million cubic meters of influent raw sewage. The maximum monthly flow was in December of 2024 with 221,189 cubic meters of raw sewage, and that created a daily maximum influent flow of 27,000 cubic meters of raw sewage. Influent flows historically continue to be about 50% of the design capacity for the Exeter wastewater treatment facility. In 2024, the warm weather discharge was 855,000 cubic meters, and the cold weather discharge was 347,000 cubic meters, with a combined total of 1.2 million cubic meters of effluent discharged over 2024. That equates to 47% of the design capacity for the Exeter wastewater treatment facility. A review of the 2024 flow indicates that there is still inflow and infiltration problems in the wastewater collection system. Staff continue to address this inflow and infiltration issues by replacing sewers in conjunction with road reconstruction projects, capital projects to detect and remediate I&I, and capping and abandoned sewers. In 2024, 93% of the inflow was discharged from the Exeter wastewater treatment facility. Monthly effluent summary. In 2024, direct discharge from the lagoons occurred in February. The effluent quality met all parameters, including the suspended solids, the total phosphorus, the unionized ammonia, the dissolved oxygen under the cold weather discharge parameters. The warm season discharge occurred from May to September, and the parameters for warm season discharge are stricter, and the effluent must go through the sand filters to meet these parameters. The effluent met all parameters, including the suspended solids, the total phosphorus, the unionized ammonia, the dissolved oxygen, the E. coli, under the summer discharge parameters. To give an idea of what the sand filters are capable, the geometric mean of the E. coli not through the sand filters in 2024 was 574 milligrams per 100 milliliters. Through the sand filters, that geometric average mean was 5.27. So it just goes to show what our sand filters are capable of and the effluent quality that they can create. In 2024, normal repairs and emergency repairs and maintenance activities included sewage pump failures and the associated replacement or rebuild of the pumps, generator failures and the emergency repairs to complete, emergency sewage force main repairs, and filter bed lateral repairs. Also in conjunction with this is the engineering and the replacement of sanitary sewers in conjunction with road reconstruction projects. These included the replacement of the sanitary sewers on Main Street, Exeter from Walbert to Asable River, the engineering for future sanitary sewer replacements on Gidley Street, Hardy, Alexander, McConnell, and Baldwin. It also included the engineering for the Huron Park sewage pumping station upgrades and the engineering for the Exeter wastewater treatment sand filter replacement. In 2024, there was 11 suspected sanitary sewer blockages called in by customers. Of the 11, one was attributed to a blockage on the municipal side. This was inspected, excavated, and repaired. As part of the sewer incentive program inspection, another sanitary service was inspected and a large calcite buildup was found on the municipal side. This was once again excavated and repaired. Lastly, 2 houses were found to share one municipal sanitary service. To separate the properties, 2 new sanitary services were installed from property line to the sanitary sewer in the roadway. Summary of bypasses and spills. In 2024, there were 2 bypasses at sanitary pumping stations, resulting in a total quantity of 3,530 cubic meters of raw sewage to be discharged over the course of 28 hours. Both of these sanitary sewage pumping station bypasses were caused by wet weather events and the associated snow melt. There were 2 sewage spills on Grand Bend Line resulting from a sewage force main failure. Following the detection of the spills, the force main was repaired and mitigation was in place. In all instances of bypasses and spills, the Spills Action Center here in Perth Health Unit and Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks were notified immediately. Response plans were established with the MECP and the health unit, including mitigation of the spills with hydrovac trucks and sampling. And that's a brief overview of the 2024. Thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa. Well done. Any questions for Alyssa? Deputy, you have something?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the report. 23 and 24, the flows between the two is quite large. Is that due to water getting in or?
Through you, Mayor Finch, that is highly attributed to the wet weather that we did receive those years, and that would be attributed to the inflow and infiltration that our system sees.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, great job. Thanks very much, Alyssa. Well done. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder, I believe. And so we'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Okay, next item, move on to 10.3.2.
That South Huron Council received staff report ESD 07-2025, tender results for half-ton, 4-wheel drive crew cab pickup truck, and the South Huron Council accept the tender from the lowest compliant bidder, Larry Hudson's Chevrolet Buick GMC, and authorize award of a contract for a half-ton, 4-wheel drive crew cab pickup truck in the amount of $59,059.74, including HST.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Councillor Oak?
Yeah, just noted that there was an error and the lowest tender wasn't the one that got. Do we communicate with the tenderees after of what they did wrong, or do they call in to find out what they did wrong so that maybe it doesn't happen again? I guess just wondering what the process is on those.
Ms. Masouk-Olson.
The process is that the manager does contact them and let them know that they were non-compliant, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries 7. Thank you. Next item, please, 10.3.3.
The South Huron Council received staff report ESD 08-2025, tender results for Exeter Sewage Lagoon Sand Filter Rehabilitation, and the South Huron Council accept the tender from the low bidder, Burnham Excavating Limited, and authorize award of a contract for the Exeter Sewage Lagoon Sand Filter Rehabilitation in the amount of $1,025,397.66, including HST.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Councillor Oak.
Yeah, just wondering with the tender, is there anything built in or any concern with any tariff implications with aluminum piping? Or has it come from Canada?
Alyssa, come on down.
Through you, Mayor Finch, there's currently not any known tariff implications.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, call the question. All in favor? That carries 7. Thank you. Next item, please. 10.3.4, I believe.
That South Huron Council received staff report TSD 06-2025, tender results for repairs to the Morrison Dam Bridge structure, number 3003, and that South Huron Council accepts the tender received from the low bidder, KB Civil Constructors, Inc., for repairs to the Morrison Dam Bridge structure, number 3003, in the amount of $727,027.38, excluding HST.
And the mover, please, Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Councillor Oak.
Yeah, thank you. I note that we need approval from ABCA on this. Just wondering if that'll delay if that'll delay the start of the project or not.
Mr. Timmermans, go ahead, please. Welcome.
Mayor Finch. No, that won't delay anything. We should be receiving that within the end of this week, beginning of next week.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Dietrich.
Thank you to the mayor. Do we have any government assistance on this?
Mr. Timmermans?
Through Mayor Finch, yes, that is funded through OCIF funding.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries 7. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Timmermans. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council received staff report TSD 07-2025, tender results for repairs and extension to B-line structure, number 1096, and the South Huron Council accepts the tender received from the low bidder, Vandenberg Construction, Inc., for the repairs and extension to B-line structure number 1096 in the amount of $163,985, excluding HST.
And the mover, please, Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries 7. Thank you. The next item, 10.4.1, I believe.
This one is noted an amendment to the budget. That South Huron Council received staff report CAO 05-2025, Huron Shores Area Transit Update, Municipal Contribution, Budget Amendment, and that conditional to successful funding from the Ontario Transit Investment Fund, the OTIF, South Huron Council agrees to the following. 1, ongoing annual support over 5 years beginning April 1st, 2025, ending in 2029, for a total municipal contribution of $316,672.75, average annual contribution of $63,334.55 towards the Huron Shores Area Transit System, and 2, approval of a budget amendment in the amount of $63,334.55 for its 2025 contribution to the Huron Shores Area Transit System to be funded through Working Fund Reserve, and allocation of the provincial gas tax transit to Lambton Shores for the Huron Shores Area Transit ending after 2029 fiscal year, and designate South Huron CAO as a project team representative as required for the OTIF application.
And a mover, please. Councillor McLeod Haggett, second by Councillor Neeb. Discussion. Councillor McLeod Haggett, you moved it. Go ahead, please.
Yes, to you, Mayor Finch. Rebecca, were you able to get the provincial gas tax amount?
Initially, it'd be around 21,000, but that may increase through ridership, yes.
Any other questions? Councillor Neeb and then Councillor Oak.
Thank you, Mayor Finch. And just wondering too, in terms of, we have a representative that sits on the project team, and that will be from if this moves forward to the end of 2029. Would we be able to give input specifically on routes and get information back about how those routes are doing? Like, are they planning on providing a report to councils once a year? I'm just kind of wondering, like, you know, how much input are we able to put into this process?
Ms. Basu-Colson.
Through the mayor, I expect that the reporting should probably pretty well the same as what we've been getting from Susan Mills. As far as that goes, and as far as the actual routes, I believe that depends on how many municipalities are actually gonna. Some municipalities have decided not maybe to follow through with this, but then there are other municipalities such as Godrich that may be adding themselves into this. So at this point, it's not finalized. So the routes aren't necessarily finalized.
Councillor Oak.
Thank you, Mayor. If for some reason the OTIF fund goes away or they're not successful, what kind of cost are we looking at potentially for South Huron if that were the case?
Through the mayor, at this point, this resolution reads that there won't be a cost if the funding isn't successful. However, that being said, Lambton Shores may come back with a different proposal. I don't know at this point.
Councillor Oak.
And thank you. And I guess, has there been talk about canvassing the business community about helping to fund this as well for employees that use it as well, not just all municipal funding?
Ms. Basu-Colson.
Through the mayor, I believe that the CAO from Lambton Shores has reached out to certain businesses. At this point, I don't believe there is any contributions from businesses.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Dietrich and then Councillor Vaughn.
Thank you to the mayor. I see here where they said there was 25,000 boarding the transit. What percentage of them people would be in South Huron?
I don't know if we could have that information. Ms. Basu-Colson, would you be able to offer that?
I don't know that I have it right here, right now, but I mean, I could certainly circulate that to council afterward. We did get some information on our presentation. I think we're the second highest user. I can say that after Lambton Shores.
Councillor Oak.
Yeah, I believe it was in the report that Susan Mills gave us, Sarah, when she did her annual report. And you're right, I think we're second highest users.
Any other questions? Deputy, go ahead, please.
Thank you. In the report, I didn't see anything in the report about the user fee or the rider fees. Are they in line with other transits in the same type, like in the rural area, not London or Toronto, or do we know that?
Ms. Basu-Colson,
Thank you.
do you know?
I do recall that there was a report. I don't have it on me, but I could circulate it again. I know that they do try to make it competitive, although they did have a few different free, let's say, through the library. They do had a few different services, but yes, I can circulate that.
Okay, Councillor Oak.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So Lambton Shores and Blue Water have agreed to this. Right now, Lucan Biddulph, North Middlesex, or Kettle Point have not officially made. If those three decide that they don't want to take part, what does that do for our funding cost?
Ms. Basul?
Or I assume there might be some rejigging of area or service areas if some of the other municipalities don't take part.
That is correct. That is what will happen. And if you just give me 1 second here, I do have. um, So Plimpton, Wyoming, Godrich may be joining in as well. So that could change the routes. North Middlesex and Lincoln-Bedolph, possibly not, but Kettle Point would like to proceed, yes. That's where we're at this point. So the routes haven't been finalized.
Councillor Oak?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up, I know the county is looking at something as well. How far along are they? If something like you're mentioning Godrich might be interested in this, I guess, is there any discussion about all of the county tagging on to this system or I wondered if our county reps maybe could comment.
Yeah, so actually, I brought it up at county council last week, and I brought up Mac Boyson, who's in the audience tonight, about his letter. County council is very much in support of getting a report back to see what can be done, the impacts of public transit in here in Huron County and partnering around the area. So there's a report coming back at this point. Ms. Basul calls.
And through the mayor, I believe that they're doing a feasibility study as well. Yeah.
Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, the way the report is written right now with the municipalities that are serviced today, it looks to me like there is about 253,000 that is being asked to be committed by that group of municipalities. And there was also mentioned that the cost to run the system as it is now is about $1 million a year. So just wanting to validate my assumption here, that does that mean that that the grants that we're envisioning getting will represent $750,000 to fund our transit system?
And the presentation from Lambton Shores did outline, there were different, I believe, 80%, 60%, 40% and 20% for over the 5 years. But yes, for the total, the grant, the 5-year grant for OTIF will cover the balance, the rest, yes. Is that answering your question?
No, but that was the second question that I actually had. So I'm just thinking about it on a per year, per annum basis right now. Is it fair to say that if all of our municipalities put in $250,000, the government is going to put in about $750,000 per annum based on the routes we have today?
Based on the routes we have today. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 5 years.
And they'll do that for 5 years. That was my second.
Well, it's an average. They'll do the total amount, pay 80%, I believe, the first year.
Right.
Then 60%, then 40% and 20%. So the total amount that the 316,000 for the 5 years, the average is 334.55 per year. However, you could pay 80%. You could pay as outlined in the report that the CAO from Lambton Shores had submitted as well.
Okay, so reasonable that over the whole 5-year period, a per annum average is
Yes,
63,000 to us. Okay. Okay. And Plimpton, Wyoming might be a different size than, say, Lincoln-Bedolph, as is Godrich, for that matter. March 31st is looming large. It's only a couple of weeks away. So this rejigging of routes and commitments and so on and so forth, how are we doing for timing on all of that?
Through the mayor. The CAO still of Lambton Shores still feels that it's doable. And for some of those municipalities, it may be their gas tax only. Right? So he's working out the numbers and yeah, still planning on submitting.
And do we need to know the answer on the grants before March 31st? Like I'm just thinking, let's say we run past March 31 because people are depending on that transit system. What will happen there if will we continue without an answer from the grant, or do we really think we're going to get an answer on the grant before March 31?
Mayor. No, not likely, but Lambton Shores has added, I believe, around $70,000 towards this project until that happens. Yeah, there's a fund amount. Yeah.
Councillor Oak, you had something?
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So yeah, so March 31st, it ends if the grant doesn't, but Lambton Shores said that they would carry on for another month to figure it out, maybe. And that's an average 63,000. So initially it's going to be less and it'll go up each year for the 5 years. So what is our starting point for this coming year? Because it's an 80-60, like you mentioned, Rebecca, 80-60, 40-20.
So the 2025 would be 25,228.50. 2026 would be 37,789.58. 2027 would be $69,514.50. 2028 would be 82,497.19. And 2029 would be 101,643 for an average of the 63,334.
Thank you, Councillor Oak.
Yeah, thank you. And just as a follow-up, then that'd be subject to not finding some other funding models, I guess.
That is correct. That's with the OTIF as it is now. If there was additional funding, who knows?
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor McLeod Haggett.
So just to give council maybe a little more perspective on this for what the users are paying. So for the local trips is $5. For long distance trips are $10. And for travel from London or Sarnia to Goderich is $15. And if you look at the London Transit, they are about $3.50 per ride. So our transit is a little bit more, but obviously it's not as large as what the London Transit is.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, now let's see, Councillor Neeb.
Well, thank you, Mayor Finch. I know we've received a number of presentations over the last 4 years, and really, I think we've seen ridership grow, and it'd be nice to see that continue. There's a definite benefit to our area for our residents, but also our employers. The one thing that I think is really interesting is that there's big benefits to a number of municipalities investing collectively, and we wouldn't be able to support a transit system by ourselves. And I think really too, if we're able to prove benefit and prove ridership, there may be more funding coming. But I do think it's important that we do support this initiative because it does allow a huge benefit to our residents. Again, I like the idea of being able to maybe provide some input about the routes or see which routes are working, and in order to ensure that it's meeting our residents in South Huron and their needs. But I think it's worthwhile to move this forward. But again, I think there's also the caveat that it might not move forward if there isn't municipal support.
Thank you. Any other comments? Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. I just see this as municipalities working together to get this project going and keep it going. I just hope that we get our grant money, because I don't know how we can afford this as a municipalities to do it on our own. So hopefully our government will step up and do their job. Thank you.
Councillor.
Yeah, and I agree with Councillor Neeb and Deputy Mayor that regionally this makes more sense, and hope with Goderich maybe joining, that northern route was a little iffy whether it was going to continue or not, according to Susan at her, when she presented it. But now maybe if Godridge is part of it, it'll help take off on that front and not have to subsidize the whole system as much. So yeah, fingers crossed that the provincial funding stays in place.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Vaughn?
Yeah, I would just like to, and this has been said before, Councillor Neeb said it, I do see this as an economic driver for our region. So I would like to see it go forward, providing we get others to continue joining or new partners to join and the government kicks in a good amount of money.
Okay, anyone else have anything else? Okay, I think we know where we're going with this. This is, that's fine. I was going to speak to it, but I think we know we're on the same page. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's any further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for attending. Thank you. And next item, please. Notice of motions. Are there any notice of motions at this time?
There are no.
Thank you. Items for discussion arising from previous meetings. Anyone wish to discuss under 12.1? Okay, not seeing any. New business. Does anyone have new business? Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Through you, Mayor Finch. So I'm not sure if this is where I've just been getting messages while I've been sitting here about the strike for Blue Water Recycling. Is this, Rebecca, where I should talk about this, or is there a plan? What's going to happen?
Okay, just give me 1 second here. I was talking to Michelle today, and she said basically that the earliest possible date for a legal strike will be Monday, March the 24th. A new ratification vote is scheduled for tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Anything, Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. Does that mean they're going to be still working, I presume? Thank you.
Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just on that, then also, if they were to go on strike, our landfill would stay open for anybody that wanted to bring garbage to the landfill, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to Mayor and Councillor comments and announcements. Are there anything to report this time? Councillor Vaughn.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so Rebecca sent out, or no, maybe it wasn't Rebecca. It was the chamber that sent out the mayor's breakfast for South Huron, which looks mighty interesting in terms of the political slant and the U.S. tariffs, and as a discussion, I think that's very interesting. So I thought I'd also just point out to you that we have another interesting mayor's breakfast going on as well very soon that is kind of a regional flavor in terms of Lambton Shores, South Huron, and Blue Water mayors all coming, as well as the MPP of Lambton Kent,
Steve Pisano.
Thank you. I knew I was going to butcher that name. Happening at the Oakwood Inn on March 27th. Tickets are $40. I'll send out an email with the little poster I received today later. But anyway, it's coming up real quick. And if you are interested at all in speaking with the chamber, Grand Bend Chamber, they really want to know the numbers by Wednesday, Friday at the latest, so they can make arrangements with Oakwood Inn. So just something to think about, because there's a lot happening down in the greater Grand Bend area that you might want to hear from all 3 mayors.
Sounds good. Any other comments at all? Not seeing any. Okay. So as far as my activities this past little while, March 5th, I was invited by MP Ben Lobb to attend the King Charles III Coronation Medal Award ceremonies being held in Wingham. I provided a ride to our South Huron ladies to the event. The awards were presented to Tom Prout and Bonnie Sitter. And both of these South Huron residents have done tremendous work throughout their lives in South Huron that has positively impacted the community even beyond South Huron. They were very deserving of the recognition and was honored to be a part of that history. On March 8th, I was invited to the Exeter McDonald's to recognize International Women's Day. $1 of every coffee purchase was being donated to the women's shelter. It was great to see the volunteers working in the drive-through lane, and from what I was told, people were very receptive to them. Later that afternoon on March 8th, I was invited to celebrate South Huron's most recent centenarian. 100-year-old Catherine Campbell celebrated 100 years of age and is still active in the Grand Cove community. It was honored to present her with the mayor's certificate of congratulations and the official mayor's pin. And over 60 people attended the clubhouse, and she was completely surprised. And I would just tell you what a great community that Grand Cove is. Just very warm reception for her and all those that attended. So those are the things that I was up to. If there's nothing else, move on to communications. Ms. Masuda Collison, if you could call them out, and if you want them pulled, please say so.
15.1, 15.2, 15.3,
Pull.
15.4, 15.5, 15.6, 15.7,
Pull.
15.8, 15.9, 15.10, 15.11,
Pull.
15.12, 15.13, and that includes 13.1 to 13.11.
Okay, very well. We go to 15.3, Mr. Neeb.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor Finch. So there's a request here from the Sauble Bayfield Foundation asking for a donation of a pickleball gift card and family swim pass, and I wasn't sure if we did that or if there were swimming passes that we gave out, and I'm just wondering if.
Councilor Vaughn?
It actually doesn't matter now because the dinner has been canceled.
They're still doing online auction though?
They're doing an online auction, but
So is that part of that?
nah. I suppose you could look at it that way. Yeah.
That was my interpretation anyways. Would there be a mover for that then to do that, or Ms. Masuda calls the process on that?
The South Huron Council donated a pickleball pass and a family pool pass for the 2025 annual Osebo Bayfield Conservation Foundation dinner. Or not dinner, but online auction.
Online auction.
So moved, Councilor Neeb? Sure.
Yep.
Okay, the intent is there. Councilor Oak, you have a comment? You want to second it? Sure. Okay, seconded by Councilor Oak. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, now is that an annual pass for both, or how is that? I
So
assume?
through the mayor, the pickleball pass is $30 and allows up to 10 plays. And the family pool pass is $145 for the whole season. And that includes the parents and the children.
Thank you.
Thank you. So moved and seconded then. If there's any discussion? No, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, we'll go to 15.7. Councilor McLeod-Haggett.
Yes, I'm just wondering if there's been any other discussions within staff even about removing the US flag, as I know other municipalities have been doing this.
Ms. McCaulson?
To the mayor. Not necessarily. There haven't been any discussions for removal from a staff perspective.
Okay, thank you. Deputy.
I don't agree with removing it. They're still our neighbors. There may be some issues going on, but I don't think we can blame the citizens of United States for this. Thank you.
Thank you for your point. Well done. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, moving right along. Next item would be 15.11. Councilor Neeb.
Thank you, Mayor Finch, and this is just more of an FYI. I think this is the 3rd or 4th time that we've had different municipalities echo the municipality of South Huron's motion about amending the subsection 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act. So I think it's really positive to see that we're making a little bit of impact. And I wanted to thank council for passing this resolution on to other municipalities. It means a great deal to the Heritage Committee. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it forward originally. That's well done. Thank you. And if there's nothing further, we'll go to the recommendation. Ms. Sue Carlson.
That South Huron Council received communication items not otherwise dealt with.
And a mover, please. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please. 16, go into closed session here in a moment. Go ahead, Ms. Sue Carlson.
That South Huron Council proceeds in closed session at 7:29 PM for the purpose of addressing the following in accordance with subsection 239(2)(b), D, E, and F of the Municipal Act. 1, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communication items necessary for that purpose. And 2, labor relations or employee negotiations and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And 3, discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, municipal or local board employee, and this is municipal employees, that the following people remain in attendance for item 1, the CAO Deputy Clerk, Director of Building Planning Services, CBO, and Municipal Solicitor Ed Velboom. For item number 2, CAO Deputy Clerk, General Manager of Community and Emergency Services, Fire Chief, Acting Director of Financial Services Treasurer, and Talent and Workforce Manager. And for item 3, CAO Deputy Clerk.
And the mover, please. Moved by Councilor Neeb, seconded by Councilor Oak. Any discussion? We'll go into closed. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. And always give staff a bit of time to get ready for that. Thank you, everyone. Take care.